What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Toby. I do random things. And today, we are resuming our reading of journal number 3. We are beginning part 4. So let's get started. Now, where we last left off, F got into a traumatic experience with a Gremlin. He broke his leg, got messed up real bad. And he created the memory gun so that he could forget the traumatic experience. And after that happened, the author was like, let's go to a carnival to lift our spirits. And so they did, and that's where we're reading. The Palm Reader. F was clearly having the time of his life. He had just bet on a pig race and won first prize by using advanced probability calculations. I noticed a palm reader and was galled to see how long the line was to this obvious charade. The dim intellect of the citizens of this town continues to astound me. I pondered how gratifying it would be to publicly expose such a charlatan and realized that I had a rare opportunity. Surely this palm reader had never seen a six-fingered hand like mine. She'd likely be so stumped by my extra digit that I could expose her for the fraud she was. I walked into a darkly lit tent smelling of incense. A strange gnarled crone waited at a rickety table. She seemed to have a collection of severed hands in a cage, but it may have just been the light playing tricks on me. When I sat down, she quickly grabbed my hands and said, "What took you so long, Sixer?" I felt a chill run down my back. How she knew my childhood name was beyond me. Before I could muster a response, she opened a pack of tarot cards and lined them up on the table. When she saw the results, she shrieked and looked at me with a great and pained sympathy. "Someone very close to you is deceiving you. You have chosen the wrong allies. You will live 2 lives and both of them too short, unless you change now." She handed me a strange blue ring. "When this is blue, you may pull through. When this is black, you can't turn back." I told the psychic to skip the rhymes and get to the palm reading. I already felt uncomfortable enough and was looking forward to getting out of there. With a sigh, she got to it. Trigger finger. She said I need to think before I shoot. Long wisdom. She claimed I was too smart for my own good. Personally, I took this as a compliment. Short relationships. She said, no one wants to hold a rose with too many thorns. I never understood poetry, to be honest. A broken lifeline. She said that my lifeline seemed to end abruptly and start again sometimes later. Clearly this is an inexact science. A crossroads. Apparently, I will have to make a choice very soon, and if I choose the wrong one, I will never be myself again. Perfectly sane life advice from a lady who lives in a traveling wagon full of severed hands. She also said that my extra finger did indeed make me special, and that if I wasn't doing anything later, maybe we could get some drinks. She was flirting with me. That clinched it. I grabbed my things and got the heck out of there. Clearly, breathing incense for 50 years had damaged her brain. As I hurried from the tent, I found my assistant cheerfully fixing some gears on a broken Ferris wheel and chatting with an odd young carny. Although the seedy character was little more than a teenager, his bald head was covered with strange tattoos, bearing a striking resemblance to the defunct scientific field of phrenology. The young man, with the name tag reading Ivan Wexler, was in the middle of telling a fretful anecdote. Apparently, the other carnies made fun of him for his head tattoos. When he told the bullies to stop, they locked him in the haunted freak house for an entire night, which had utterly terrified him. He lost sleep for weeks and wished he could just forget the entire thing. F whispered something to the man and handed him a piece of paper with a symbol on it, which I didn't get a good look at. Perhaps I should have inquired, but I was in no mood to spend another second at this ridiculous fair. I took one last look down at my hand and was strangely relieved to find that the palm reader's ring was still blue. I shoved it in my pocket, collected F, and tried to put the whole experience out of my mind. Palm reading is ridiculous. I can't believe I dignified that crone with my time. I may want to study up on ancient forms of prediction. That'll show that witch. Squash with human face and emotions. F bought this as a gift for me at the fair. I appreciate the sentiment, but it's hideous. He pulled it out of a barrel of reject gourds because he said it reminded him of me. I suppose I did inherit my dad's nose. I kept it on a shelf in the lab out of politeness and tried to forget about it. But I swear the gourd has been making moaning sounds while I work. Its expression changes on a daily basis, and it seems to be growing something resembling an arm out of its back. Politeness or no, I'm throwing this thing out. A new concern. This morning over ham sandwiches, my assistant brought up a troubling subject. Supposing we are indeed successful in opening the portal to the source of Gravity Falls weirdness, what if any more weirdness leaks into our dimension? Or, more tantalizingly, what if we're able to capture some new and rare creatures from this unimaginable alternate universe? In the event of such a development, we will need somewhere to store and study these dangerous specimens, where they can't endanger the townsfolk or interfere with our work. F has proposed that we build an additional underground laboratory, one designed with the utmost precautions and paranormal security. An impermeable bunker where we can contain and observe these specimens away from my home base and the possibilities of being witnessed by the townsfolk. As much as I hate to delay construction of the portal, F is right. We will begin building this containment unit at once. We found a location for our hidden storage bunker. Deep in the forest behind my cabin, there are trees so massive and powerful that many of them have stood for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. F discovered that one of them has a hollowed-out trunk, making it the perfect entrance for our secret hideout. I'll admit that this project has sidetracked us a little bit, but is there a scientist alive who could resist the lure of building a secret lair? The excavation was difficult, but F insisted that he could do it on his own, although I could have sworn I saw the lumberjacks helping him with the labor. When I questioned the lumberjacks about the project, they seemed to have forgotten the whole thing. So it must have been a figment of my overworked imagination. This hidden bunker will be the perfect place to store any specimen too dangerous for the outside world, and to maybe place him D&D and more D if time permits. The bunker. The plan is coming along great. F never ceases to amaze me with his skill for construction. Just today he showed me a cellular telephone he built, which was incredibly only the size of a cinder block. This place has everything. A. Bunker. For overnight research. I think I accidentally lost F's Shemez dispenser down here. Don't tell him. B. Security room. A sinisterly complex trap designed to crush any intruder who doesn't have the code. Seems a bit excessive, but once F starts inventing, he can't stop. C. Observation room. To study otherworldly creatures at a safe distance. Also soundproof, so we can say insulting things about our specimens freely. D. Storage room. The dirt around this is surrounded by solid bedrock and reinforced with steel. No way our specimens will escape. Cooling system. We will need to be able to freeze certain specimens for examination. The cryogenic temperature control apparatus was designed on site. Temperature can be altered within 24 hours, powered by a small battery network. F discussed how, in the event of a world war or paranormal catastrophe, these units can be used to freeze oneself with the intent to emerge in the future when trouble has passed. I think that he's being paranoid. I keep reminding him, this is a lab, not a bomb shelter. I have to admit that my assistant really topped himself with security precautions. F says it was inspired by the popular Russian arcade puzzle game, Soviet Blocks, although I think it looks more like his beloved cube puzzle. Either way, this ever-changing mechanical trap is designed to perplex and capture a creature of any possible size and shape. Sometimes I think how fortunate I am to be friends with F, because if this room is any indication, it would be terrifying to be his enemy. I've written down the security code here, because if I ever forget, it will be the last mistake I make. Supposedly, it's written on this page. Although I don't see a code. That's strange. I just see the symbols. No secret code. Oh well. Cryogenic tube. We found our first specimen. During the dig, I discovered a large blue egg containing an utterly bizarre creature. This squishy, maggot-like hatchling has a unique ability. He can transform his body into anything he sees. I quickly caged this marvel and have been feeding him F's canned beans, which he devours ravenously. F says we should freeze it right away to test out our cryonics, but I've grown attached to the creature. For the past week, I have conducted all manners of tests on the specimen, who I've named Shifty, to get a sense of his unique biological makeup. Although I have yet to determine his origin, I have recorded countless incredible forms. Shifty has such a delightful temperament, transforming into a tail-wagging dog when he's happy, and a prickly sea urchin when he's sad. I've shown him photos of a number of different animals, and he always matches them perfectly, although I am careful to only show him small herbivores. The books on large predators are strictly off limits. I have also become careful to wear a surgical mask while around him. The possible repercussions, if he got a good look at my face, are somewhat unnerving. Every day, Shifty goes bigger and bigger. I had to upgrade him from the small kennel box to a full-size steel cage. While working late in the bunker, I heard a high, otherworldly, parrot-like voice call out, "Beans!" Shifty has learned how to speak. A few words at first, but every day he has been learning longer sentences. Increasingly, he asks, "Who am I?" He is an avid learner and has asked on multiple occasions to see my journal, but I have declined for obvious reasons. There are over 100 forms in this book that I never want to see him take. Fiddleford has become, we know his name. Usually we've been referring to him as just F, but he just dropped his full name. Fiddleford has become increasingly skeptical of the creature, reminding me every day that the only reason we're keeping him is to test the cryogenic tube once it's complete. Apparently, F's farmhand upbringing has made him unsentimental towards what he sees as livestock. Gotta stay hydrated. Trouble in the bunker. One night, while working late, F came to me in a panic. He was coughing a lot, and he said he had a sore throat and asked if he could look in my journal for a remedy. His throat really did sound awful, but I told him to simply use the cough drops in the first aid cabinet. He grew increasingly insistent that only the journal had the answer. Finally, I relented and went to my bunk to find the journal. As I was unlocking the door, I heard what sounded like muffled screams coming from my cabinet. I opened it up and was shocked to find F, my assistant, bound by rope and gagged with the sock. In an instant, the grim horror of what had happened came over me. My eyes shot to Shifty's steel cage, which had been busted open. I untied F, whose anxiety has rendered him nearly mute, and quickly concocted a plan. Using some gold spray paint, I drew a crude six-fingered hand on a plumbing manual. I tossed it in one of our cryonic tubes, and then ran back to the surveillance room. The imposter F had been waiting impatiently, shaking involuntarily in his chair. I noticed that his hands were so strong they had bent the steel in the armrests. I told him that in my carelessness, I had left my journal in the cryonics room. He darted off for the journal, and the instant he stepped inside the cryonics tube, I slammed the red button, trapping him in. He screamed and took on a form I'd never seen. He pounded on the glass and froze before my eyes. I felt remorseful for having to freeze my former pet, but even worse that I had been fooled and that F had almost paid the price. After this incident, we'd both lost a bit of our momentum on the storage concept. We agreed to put this thing behind us, seal out the security measures, and return after the portal was complete. If this creature ever escaped, it's a thought too horrifying for me to even imagine. I may rip these pages out to sleep better at night. An encounter. I apologized profusely to F for another traumatic experience. I told him that once we complete the portal, all of this will have been worth it. We're almost there. We have nearly completed the portal and will soon be ready to test it, but we have several more long nights before our work will be ready. I recently found myself frustrated by the necessity to sleep. Think, if the average person sleeps 8 hours a day, they will spend approximately 1/3 of their entire life asleep. What a waste! In this regard, I find myself especially jealous of my muse. He has discussed with me at length the freedoms afforded to him by virtue of being a non-corporeal entity. He is free, truly free, from the physical and biological restraints of our world. This past evening around midnight, it was my assistant who first succumbed to fatigue. The 13 cups of coffee I'd given him and record of frenzied bluegrass we were playing still wasn't enough to keep him awake. He chided me, as he often does, for staying up too late. Don't forget what happened to Icarus, he told me as he packed up his things and left. He didn't flap hard enough, I replied. As impressive as F's mechanical knowledge is, he sometimes frustrates me. I knew that if we needed to stay on schedule, I would need to work at least another 3 hours. But as the minutes ticked by, I too began to feel fatigue's wretched powers pull on my eyelids. It was at this moment that my muse appeared before me with a tantalizing offer. He said he took pity on my frail human body and offered to take it over for a while to help me finish my calculations while I slept. I can only think of a few times I've known such gratitude. It was almost as though he had read my mind. He held out his hand, and I gladly accepted. Although I know that the images of him I see only exist within my mind, I insist that when my hand was engulfed in the blue flames, I felt a physical chill. It fascinated me. To put your hand in fire and not get burned, this is a feeling like no other. I awoke this morning to find that my muse was true to his word. There in my notebook were 6 hours worth of beautifully written calculations, perfectly sufficient to keep me on schedule. My assistant's expression was, when he saw me fully alert and smiling with a huge stack of calculations on my side, I had to stifle my laughter. If only he knew the powers of my imaginary friend. Well, imaginary. Update. Several hours after the experience with my muse, I experienced a burning pain in my right eye. Probably just a headache. I have attached a monocle to this book to help me read with one eye until it goes away. I hope it doesn't bleed. Very odd. Here's some sketches. All is ready for our first major test. If my muse is correct, the grand unified theory of weirdness will be ours. I now know how Newton, Einstein, and the other giants of science felt right before they walked their way into the history books. If all goes well, I shall soon be counted among their ranks. January 17th. It is the night before testing day, and I'll admit that tensions are high. An hour ago, F and I had dinner at the local diner with the intention of toasting to our future success. But when I raised my glass, F couldn't meet my gaze. He told me that he was having second thoughts about the entire mission, and nervously slid a napkin across the table. On it was a diagram with the words, "Probability of failure." He said that his final calculations had revealed deep flaws in our design, flaws that could have disastrous consequences. He felt we were being reckless and urged me to reconsider the whole plan for the safety of the town. Again, he questioned me about where I got the idea for this portal, and I almost considered telling him the truth, until he showed me something that almost shocked me. In his trembling hands was a thesis paper, "The Astonishing Anomalies of Gravity Falls," with my name credited underneath. He explained that he had spent the last 3 days working without breaks and had written a paper exhaustively covering all my greatest discovery. "Publish this," he said, placing it on the counter. "This is your research. I merely went through the trouble of cataloging it for you. These are enough discoveries to make you a multi-millionaire. With this, you will have everything you ever wanted, and you won't need to go through with this risky test. Forget about the portal and the grand unified theory of weirdness. Publish this, get your life back, and move on." It was just as my muse had warned me. How could someone I have trusted for so long suggest giving up now, when victory was nearly within our grasp? Was he planning on leaving me the scraps while he discovered the grand unified theory of weirdness himself? Was I to be a forgotten Tesla to a backstabbing Edison? I asked for the check and refused to give even his insulting thesis paper a glance. "We'll do the test tomorrow at 8 o'clock sharp. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock sharp," I told him. "Be there or get left behind. The choice is yours." I walked home in the murky twilight and felt something in my pocket. It was the ring that the palm reader had given me at the carnival. It was black. I tossed the ring into the lake. Superstitions are for the weak. I am a scientist, and after tomorrow, I'll be a great one. Ooh, this page has got a lot. Interesting. Very interesting. The outlines for the portal. Very nice. Oh, this page starts off great. No! Curse the world! Curse this town! Curse the fate that brought me here! My hands are trembling as I write this, and I must pause to wipe the sweat from my brow. The portal test was a disaster. In F's fatigue, he accidentally left the rope wrapped around his wrist, and once the dummy was released, F's entire body was pulled into the portal along with it. Luckily, I was able to grab hold of the rope and pull him back into our dimension unharmed. I knew that despite the accident, F had experienced a remarkable opportunity to confirm or deny our theory, but F would tell me nothing of what he witnessed on the other side of the portal. He was so frightened and angry over the whole ordeal that he spouted some nonsense about the apocalypse, and in a huff, he quit the project. After everything we had done together, he had the nerve to grow cold feet now. After he had succeeded in being the first man to enter a parallel dimension, he took our gift and threw it away. Imagine if Neil Armstrong's first words on the moon were, "I quit." Well, good riddance, F, you weak-willed hayseed. Go back to your doting family and a life of fear and compromise. If it were not for our failed partnership, but for the gold... What? I completely read that sentence wrong. I weep now, not for our failed partnership, but for the golden opportunity that you threw away. To think I considered him a friend. I now know my true friend. It is my muse. I will speak with him tonight. I will seek his counsel. Something is not right. I am used to hearing the muse's voice in my head on occasion, but now suddenly I hear whispers, the murmuring voices of beasts, the echoing howls of lost souls. This is not right at all. It is almost as though my muse is contacting others, ghouls from another world. The more I listen, the more I am convinced it is not my imagination. My head throbs, my right eye burns. I heard my muse say something. The door is open. What have I done? My muse was a monster. I was a puppet. F was right. I must now reveal the name of my muse. Beware Bill, the most powerful and dangerous creature I have ever encountered. This nightmare in disguise will seduce you with never-ending flattery until he gets what he wants, and what he wants is the destruction of this reality. Whatever you do, never let him into your mind. There is no telling what damage Bill might do. How many of my thoughts have been manipulated, dreams corrupted? My right eye is so sore it bleeds on the page. The cost of letting him possess me. Has he possessed others? According to my research, his deceit can be detected. It is possible to follow the demon into a person's mind and prevent his chaos. But far more important than that is to prevent him from entering my mind again. I realize that the only way to do this is to try to sleep as little as possible. Any moment I close my eyes, he might try to control me again. I need to resort to drastic measures to stay awake. I'll be damned if I let that demon deceive me again. The portal was never meant for my research at all. I was tricked into creating a doorway to his nightmare dimension, to let him into our world. I must shut down the portal at once and come up with a plan to destroy Bill altogether. F is nowhere to be found, so I must redouble my research to discover Bill's weakness. I pray that I can prevent the darkness that F saw coming. If only I'd listened to him when I had the chance. Everything I see only feeds my growing paranoia. After several weeks researching Bill, I went to town for food to only find a mysterious symbol everywhere. Why can't I shake the idea that this new cult is somehow connected to me and my work? Can it merely be a coincidence that my own project has reached this critical juncture at the same time this group has shown itself? These symbols are so familiar. The blind eye. Are they trying to stop him, or are they trying to stop me from stopping him? That doesn't make any sense. I cannot keep going like this without some sort of rest. I can barely think straight. The folly of recording my dangerous knowledge in book form, where it can be seen by anyone, is more clear to me than ever. Despite using coded languages and splitting my portal instructions among 3 volumes, I can't shake the feeling that the wrong person will read this work. It seems to me that I need another, even more secretive way to record my thoughts. Something visible yet invisible. Something I learned about in chemistry class back in college. Staying awake confounds me. To calm myself, I retreated to the only sanctuary I have known over the past couple of weeks. The triple digits truck stop out on Route 14. The industrial strength coffee is the best method I have for staying awake. And yet even after 6 cups I was still drowsy. A kindly looking trucker noticed that I was having shutter trouble and offered some suggestion to stay awake. Pinch yourself. Pinch someone else. They'll punch you awake. Put peanut butter on your face and let a dog ride shotgun. He'll lick you awake. Put peppers in your eyes. Just give up, Sixer. I blinked with a panicked start. Had I really begun drifting off? Had he really just called me Sixer? I reared back and heard my plate of bacon crash on the floor. Everyone in the diner turned towards me, and perhaps it was just the sunlight coming in through the window, but at that moment I swear that all of their eyes were glowing yellow. I screamed, "Get out of my mind, Cypher!" and ran towards home as fast as my weak legs could carry me. No one in this town can be trusted. He has eyes everywhere, and they are watching my every move. I collapsed by the parking lot of the Twin Bed Motel. I stared at the word twin as I tried to catch my breath, and I realized that there was only one person left in the world that I could possibly trust my secrets, and I began forming a plan. The time for half measures is over. If I am going to continue my work, then my enemy must be confronted and defeated forever. I must begin a several-day journey to the accursed caves that brought him into my life. If there is a way to destroy him, I will find it there. But before I can begin this odyssey, I need to dispose of my journals. They're too valuable to destroy, but the information contained inside is too dangerous, and I shudder to think what might happen if they were to fall into the wrong hands. I've already hidden Journal 2 near the elementary school. I doubt there is any child clever or conniving enough to discover it. I have another place in the woods picked out for this volume, but I've had a devil of a time figuring out where to hide Journal 1. I realize that it should be taken as far away from Gravity Falls as possible. Ideally, I would take it myself, but I need to make this trip to the caves. The first snow has already fallen, and the journey will get only more treacherous the longer I delay. My former assistant refuses to speak to me, so I cannot enlist his help. Ironically, the only other person left that I can trust is the least trustworthy person I know. He is a thief and a charlatan, but a well-traveled one. I have no doubt he is familiar with mob hangouts and back alleys the whole world over. He will find somewhere to hide Journal 1. I have sent word to him, and we now must wait for his arrival. Perhaps he can prove his worth to me. Perhaps the mistakes of the past can be undone. There's nothing I can do now, but wait. And that's where we end today. Thank you all for watching. Let me know. Yeah, thank you all for watching. Let me know what video ideas you might have for me, because I'm kind of can't think of any. But thank you all for watching. Bye.